you do have to be laser focused on, I'm going to be the best, one of the best, or whatever. And you and I've talked about this before when I would talk to people about, and I could tell that they were this is somebody that's really going to rise. Well, Jim, it doesn't look to me like there's really that many jobs that can pay this or do this or where I want to. I'd say, well, you might be right. So is there any reason that you can't be one to get those jobs? That has to be your mindset about it. There is no reason that I can't be one of those people that gets one of those jobs.
Welcome to the Whole Pro Podcast, presented by the Tennessee Section PGA. I'm Virgil Herring, PGA teaching professional, 2-time Tennessee Section Teacher of the Year. And joining me is my partner in this whole journey called the Whole Pro, former Tennessee Section President, Jim Vernon. How are we doing today, Jim?
I am good, and you are right. It is a journey. As we are here in the beginning parts of this journey, I'm already having a ball, man. It's great to be here.
It is. It's fun to positively address, help solve, and move our profession forward. If it's just one person, then we've done our job.
Yeah,
right?
I think you and I both have talked about that while we have a golf bent and we both have this background, the things that we talk about literally apply to everyone in every kind of industry, particularly industries where you spend a lot of time working.
Yeah, 100%. Well, today is a really interesting one. All right, today's topic is specialization versus being a Swiss Army knife. Somebody that specializes in one thing, like I've done, teach golf, or a Swiss Army knife, a person who is great at merchandising, customer service, golf tournaments, and all the things that are outside, like the all-encompassing skill sets. And I think that really this is a really interesting piece for a couple of people. The college kids that are trying to figure out how they're going to enter the PGA and how they're going to enter making a living out of this. And ultimately how big of a decision that becomes when you're 35, 36 years old, and how that leads into the next 15 years of your life in the profession. When you think about Swiss Army knife versus specialization, how did you go about making your decisions, and what are some of the keys for you?
I think early on, I was a guy who got into the golf business, a little hesitantly. I tried to play for a brief time when I got out of school. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my boss and owner at the time, Mike Geller, was looking to hire somebody here in Nashville at the Hermitage and offered me a job. And I think the first thing I said to him was, man, I really appreciate it, but you guys work way too much and don't make any money. I think I'm going to go do something else. But the pull of golf, I think, kept me coming back to that. And very early on, I was interested in being a business person. I wanted to run a business. I wanted to know how everything worked. And ultimately, I wanted to own a business, or at least part of one. That was my path. So I knew that I needed to be proficient, all right, and maybe even efficient and very in all those areas. And so that's kind of how my path went and what I focused on most of the time. And at the time I was getting in, golf was exploding, at least golf course construction. The NGF made a infamous statement that you could build a golf course for a day for the next X number of years and we still wouldn't have enough. Well, people took that shit seriously. Okay. And they did. And then of course it got crazy after that and golf starts to go the other direction. But for a while there, people started to expect more from what they needed or wanted from a golf professional or somebody or leading their business or running their business. So those were the things that I focused on, were all those different areas, because I said, this is what I want to end up doing. I want to rise through here. I knew I needed to know about all of those areas. Okay. Because we wanted to have an instructor. So and I taught early on because I needed to, because I was broke, so that helped put food on the table. And so I did all of those things, but it was apparent to me early on that I wanted to do that. And in an odd way, once I got into it it actually replaced some of the competitive juices that I had when I played. Because I stopped playing. I mean, we'll probably talk about this on some podcast episode, is how I hardly play golf anymore, and why. But at the time, as I particularly in that particular job, it was hard to find time to play. I lost the feeling for that. And so I was trying to figure out what do I want to do now? How do I make my impact? And in a weird way, because we were just getting in when daily fee golf was exploding, so all of a sudden we had a lot of competitors in Nashville over the next few years. Well, I'll just be honest with you. I woke up every day wanting to do a good job and be good at what I do, but I also wanted to beat their ass. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I would have helped anybody and did try to help anybody at any time at any other facility if I was asked. But bottom line was I wanted us to win. And that kind of helped replace some of that. So that's kind of how I got into at least the direction that I took.
It's kind of like college golf.
A little bit.
It's like, you want to win.
Yeah.
But you want your guys to win.
Yeah.
You want everybody to play good, but just don't beat me.
Yeah, I know.
Just
I still want to win.
I still want to win. And that's a great environment to put yourself in, because that's a rising tide, raising all boats mindset, which is you're out there encouraging everybody. This is what we do. This is the game plan that we go about. This is why it's successful. I'd encourage you to chase this. Watching them succeed and watching them do better makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, you're still trying to whip them.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I always call that healthy, because that's one, being a good citizen, being a selfless leader in our industry, but yet also being a competitor. And once again, in life, as soon as you stop competing, you get run over. And that's a big deal. And I think one of the things I love about the time that I spent with Jackie Burke was, animals that walk with their head down get eaten. Right? And I was like, man.
I have never heard that. I love that.
That is, so like attitude, mindset, but more than anything is how you carry yourself makes a huge difference. And now, so my path.
And I met you, for our listeners that don't know this, that's how you and I met. You weren't too long out of school, and we were looking for a full-time teacher, and we get a call that says, you really need to talk to this young kid, Virgil Herring. He's gonna go places. And that's really how we were introduced to you.
Yeah, I did not know that. I find it fascinating that, that's 1999.
I know.
Right? So now it's 26 years ago.
That's crazy.
And now we're here. Now here we are.
Yeah.
It's kind of a funny scenario. But I knew through my internships, we've kind of chronicled in a previous episode, where I worked at an entry level first internship out of Mississippi State. I was working like 80 hours a week. I was in a range house on a golf course that really wasn't that busy. And I'd literally be, I'm disconnected. I'm the only person in that building, and nobody comes out to see me. I'm there for 10 hours a day. Some days literally saw nobody.
Lord.
And so it's like I'm 8 hours in. I have not even spoken to a human. So I walk outside and hit 4 chips. My walkie-talkie. No short game practice. Like come on, I'm not. Oh, man. Are you kidding me?
Something.
There's nobody here.
Yeah.
So to that.
So somebody's hawking you down there, watching you the whole time. If you get outside of the building and hit a couple of chips, you're going to get busted.
That's right.
Oh my God.
So then I go to Callaway Gardens, and I get, very different. 39 and a half hours is all I'm allowed to work, teach golf. I got my first dose of coaching golf, and I got my first dose of watching how much money that was. I was like, whoa, now I got my attention. So my final internship, I just looked for a place that I was allowed to teach. Found one, Winnetka Golf Club in Chicago. Went there, killed it. And I was like, I got it now. So then insert me, very first week I'm back in Mississippi State after my last internship, is the old school, business school 2, of getting, moving my way to PGA. And Bill Strasbaugh and Tom Patry are the 2 people teaching how to teach golf. Bill Strasbaugh, for whatever reason, takes a huge liking to me, and he sets the table. And then from there, he brings me to Columbia Country Club. He gives me everything he's ever done. Basically photocopies everything, gives it to me. I get like a stack of unbelievable. I go back to Mississippi State, and I start. There's no competition. There's no even really a teacher of any substance. You have to go to Birmingham, essentially, from Starkville. Well, I have this vague knowledge of the golf swing at age 21, but for some reason, every person I touched got better. Well, then they win the SEC championship 3 years in a row. The girls program goes from unranked to 17th, and I'm coaching a lot of them. So my first 1,000 golf lessons were with the best players in the country. So then I go to my first job out is through the green. Now keep in mind that in the movie the book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell talks about sometimes a perfect scenario of situations line up for you to be successful. April 1997, some guy named Tiger Woods wins the Masters by 15 and sets the golf world on fire, and junior golf explodes.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 month later, I graduate and I go to Through the Green, which is a learning center. The word was, Rob Burnell says, Virgil, you have to work in the pro shop until you fill your book up. But as soon as you fill your book up, you never have to work another day in the pro shop. You're a teaching professional. I worked 4 days in the pro shop, and that's it. And I started teaching golf, and we had all these junior golfers. So now I teach, basically, now my first 3 years of teaching golf is only aspiring and elite players. Then I go to Hermitage, then I go to Gaylord, then West Haven, then I'm the coach at Ensworth, and now through all kinds of journeys, now I have my own studio at my house. What have I learned by my specification? I eliminated a large percentage of the danger of being judged for anything else other than what I do.
Well said.
And then the next thing I did is I tried to own my business as quickly as I could, so I called my shots because I realized real quick the thing that's more valuable than money is time. I was very fortunate to learn that lesson early. So like I was a specializer and I was absolutely driven, and you can speak to what you saw. All I know is I am hyper driven to be the greatest that I can be and impact kids' lives in a way that I didn't have while chasing the playing dream of myself. And I just became beyond driven when it comes to seeing kids with talent and making sure that they weren't another person that didn't get the right information to figure out how good they could be. And that has led me to all the cool things that I've ever done in this business, is my drive to be a vessel to help people go from where they are to where they want to be. And it has made all the difference to me. And I believe that my focus, as laser-like as it is, played a huge role in that. So I didn't choose the Swiss Army knife route. Now, I have had multiple director of golf jobs offered to me. And it was weird, right? Like, wait a second. You want me to be the director of golf? I've never even been anything else other than a teacher. Minus 4 days.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never sat in a truck to order shirts, pants, shoes, golf clubs. I've not done any of those things. I've never dealt with a board. I've never set up a golf tournament. I've not done any of those things, which just so happened to be the integral job of the director of golf or the head professional.
Yeah.
Was it kind of them to offer it to me? Yes. Did I say, I'm going to say yes and figure it out? Yes. But ultimately, I never got those jobs because why would they give it to me? As you think about it, like, well, that seems like the stupidest thing ever. Right? No, why would you give Virgil the director of golf job when he's never even done anything else other than teach golf?
He's a golf guy. I guess he's got all that. I mean, seriously, that almost has to be the thought process, right? Not that you couldn't have figured it out, but it was like, well, he's a golf guy. He's got it.
He's got this figured out. So I'm always trying to help people is if you don't know when you kind of enter it, the Swiss Army knife route is a good way to kind of introduce yourself to all the facets of the game. But I would always encourage people to figure out something to be really good at. And then if you're not specific, like specifically golf teacher for me, you'll find that you don't really like working in the pro shop, answering the phones and, taking the money in the till and refolding shirts. But you really do like setting up outings and talking with people to make sure the tournament experience goes the way they want it, make it happen when it's going on, and then do follow-ups. Be really good at that. It goes a long way. Be able to inspire people to be better. It goes a long way. That's the difference. But
I think people will hire people with those special skills, even if they have chosen the Swiss Army knife route. If you, because I think most people kind of gravitate towards one or the other, and may be good at. I was very fortunate and moved up quickly, so all of a sudden I was in a management role over a facility, being a head pro at 29 and going, okay. I think the only thing that I knew for sure was that I knew I was impacting people in a positive way. I never thought of necessarily myself as being a good leader, but I could tell because of the feedback that I got that I was doing something right. Now, I'm 29. I'm still a kid trying to figure stuff out and messing up. So I know that was the case. But I like what you said about, you were insulating yourself from some danger there that you spoke, because there are some ceilings that you don't really have. Time is your only ceiling right there, your only finite thing there. Otherwise, that these other jobs do have. But I also agree that if you're going to choose the route that you do have to be laser focused on, I'm going to be the best, one of the best, or whatever. And you and I've talked about this before when I would talk to people about, and I could tell that they were this is somebody that's really going to rise. Well, Jim, it doesn't look to me like there's really that many jobs that can pay this or do this or where I want to go. I'd say, well, you might be right. So is there any reason that you can't be one to get those jobs? I said, in my opinion, if you want to do this and be very successful at it, that has to be your mindset about it. There is no reason that I can't be one of those people that gets one of those jobs. And for me, I'm that unicorn that was at a facility his entire career, started from an assistant, right, and moved all the way to general manager. That doesn't happen. And along the way, I knew that I liked doing what I was doing. I liked impact. We had a big operation, lots of moving parts, so it was never dull, that's for sure. But ultimately, as you said, and we talked about this in an earlier episode too, about how pros no longer have the shop or the carts or any stuff. So I knew that for me to get and be where I wanted to be an owner. And at the time that I was probably at my, peak hiring age, we'll call it, golf was not that great. Okay. I was in a great situation where at a facility that even through 2008 and after that crash and all the stuff, we still made money when people were just closing left and right. Now, we didn't make as much, but we still were able to figure that out. And I thought, I've got a lot of years in this place. This would be my opportunity to be at least a part owner in something, which is what I wanted. My situation did not turn out the way that I thought it was going to be. So at 52, several years ago, I decided to, I still want to impact people. Golf is still important to me. I stayed on the board. I went through the chairs at whatever. And a lot of my customer service stuff is done at golf courses. So it's still been a part of my life. But then I took over something that could be mine, because that's what I wanted. And you have something that is yours. And again, I don't think there's one answer for this, but we've both said the same thing as, I don't care which one you pick, you better focus on it. And it better be, there's no reason that I can't be the best and I'm going to be the best. Or like I said, I'm going to go beat those people's arse.
Yeah. I think one of the things I never had a chance to ask you this question, but when I was at the end of my tenure at Hermitage, you had the opportunity to take a job at one of the most prestigious country clubs in the country. And you said no, because it was on the other side of the country. And I was always wondering, do you ever look back and wonder if you had gone to the West Coast with that opportunity, how things may have changed for you?
I think about it all the time, particularly since things didn't work out the way that I thought they were going to work out. Yeah. I'll look back at some of those opportunities, because I'll be honest, I had in the world of golf jobs, I had a pretty good one. So I'm thankful for that, and can't be more appreciative for that opportunity there. But I did turn down opportunities, or didn't even explore some opportunities, because of where I wanted to be. And some of that was, did I want to delve into the private side of it? And ultimately I came down to the bottom line of, I liked having one boss, and hopefully I was going to be one of those bosses at some point and wouldn't really have one anymore, rather than having 400. And people would ask me all the time, well, dude, why are you staying where you are? Why you're well respected? Why? I'm sure you've gotten offers at some private. I said, I have, and why haven't you done that? And I said, that was kind of my answer. I like what I'm doing here. I like having one boss. I like having a lot of control over what I'm doing, and here's my plan on what I hope to get to. But yeah, I think about that a lot. I think particularly when you get to be my age now, and there's lots of things I don't have, Virgil. I I'm not sure I have one regret in my life. Now, there's moments, I think we talked before, that like I've said something to my kids, there's regret there. I've sent them to the, therapist couch at something because I said something wrong. But I've always thought that whatever I did at the time, I did it with the best information that I had at the time, and I made that decision based on what that was. I can look back and say, yeah, I should have gone and tried to do that. That would have given me a different, type of job on the resume. That would have given me a different thing to do. So looking back, I can say that, but I don't regret it. Yeah. I loved every minute of what I did.
I think it's interesting. That opens up a can of worms that I wasn't even expecting to talk about, but it brings to light. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, right? So that probably played a little bit of a role in the decision-making process. So at the end of the day, how do you reconcile opportunities, which is how does that opportunity fit within your foundation? If you're doing it for the foundational pieces of your life, that's a good one. But if you're chasing the title or you're chasing the job, that's not foundational. That's transactional.
Yeah.
Right? That's where people get lost. Almost always if you're grounded in your foundations of life and an opportunity comes up, you just stack those foundations on that job, and does it line up for you? Then it falls into say yes and figure it out, or you've put yourself in a position where you become more valuable to the place that you're at.
If somebody interrupted you right then and said, well, what kind of foundations are you talking about, Virgil?
So,
what would you answer?
So at the end of the day, the process that I go through, it's a cycle because everything wraps around it in order, right? It's growth mindset. Do you believe that you can be trained to be better at whatever it is that you're being asked to do? If yes, then you have a growth mindset. If no, you feel like this is just everything's predetermined and it doesn't make a difference what I do. The outcome is set. That's called a fixed mindset. Yeah. So that's no good. Embrace the challenge. So what do you like? Whatever the challenge is, you have to embrace it. Because if you try to push it away, it has equal and opposite pressure back on you. Right? Take action. Once again, our good friend Jimmy McCafferty was really big on pounding home, take action.
Yep.
Take action. Take action. Do something. Don't talk about it. Do something. Accountability. If you're trying to be accountable to others, if you're not accountable to yourself, it's pretty clear that you won't be accountable to others.
Let me real quick there. It made me think of, I've talked before about how much I read about Southwest Airlines, in particular their early days. I'm fascinated with how that company got off the ground. And Herb Kelleher is one of the most well-known CEOs of that 70s, 80s, 90s range there, and did things totally unorthodox, not like other people would do it. Somebody asked him about a strategic plan when they really started to take off, no pun intended. He said, yeah, we got a strategic plan. It's called doing things. And that's kind of the way that I did. And sometimes we make it too hard, right? We just go, sometimes like, I don't know exactly what to do, but I just need to start moving forward.
That's right. So then it's prepare endlessly for every outcome possible. Be able to execute your game plans after you've prepared. Build in adaptabilities because not everything's going to go the way you thought it was going to go, and especially if you're trying to win. The people you're going up against don't want to lose either, so they're going to be attacking your weaknesses too.
Yep.
So you have to be adaptable. You have to be ready to take on multiple fights, so to speak, and then be relentlessly resilient.
Love that. Relentlessly resilient.
Because, man, things just...
Can I steal that?
Yeah,
I'll give you credit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So those 8 terms created an acronym for me. And I said, what is the fruit of following a championship process? You will get a pair. Okay? But the next piece is, what's kind of made my TED Talk explode, was a little provocative. But if we don't get a pair soon, there may be no fruit to reap at all. If you don't follow a process, there may be nothing to get because you aren't grounded in anything. So that's it's get a pair. And I do it for every single thing that I do. Do I feel like I can get better at this? If I can be trained, I'm willing to do it then. I'm going to take action. That's my life.
Figure it out, like we've talked about, right?
Figure it out. I'm going to be accountable to others and myself. I'm going to prepare like nothing else. I am not afraid to execute that game plan, and I'm going to build in adaptabilities because I know that people are coming after me, and I'm going to be resilient because I know that there are going to be many days that it's just not going to go my way. But that's not going to stop me from waking up tomorrow and bringing it again.
I think, and that goes perfectly with we've talked about a two different approaches, whether it's specialized or Swiss Army or whatever that looks like. But everything we've just said apply. There is no one answer. There's no answer for this one because people are going to have different interests and talents and whatever. But everything we talked about, what I need to do to move forward in those lanes, 100% the same, man.
Yeah.
And not even golf, right? I don't care what you're doing.
100%.
I want to be the best car wash owner on the planet. By God, all those principles and foundations still apply.
Yeah, and that's been my jam, and that's what
I think it's what we've both done is we've kind of branched out from golf and started talking about other things. People will ask, and they've probably done it to you too, but well, weren't you in the golf business for 26 years? What are you talking? I'm like, well, I also spent 6 years in sales management, and I've also just trying to be a student of life and learn, and a lifelong curious person. So these things I've learned more about, and I want to share the stuff that we've learned because we've been around a while.
And why limit the PGA professional to only being good at golf?
100%.
That drives me absolutely bananas, and that has been probably a massive extra container of jet fuel for me, is that why can't I do something other than coach golf?
Yeah.
And I would encourage people that the limit is if you have the right mindset and if you have the willing to be tenacious enough to do it, there is no limit to what you can
Every
do.
time I doubt myself and I wonder, I remind myself and this is several years ago, at 51 at the time, I jumped off the ledge, literally jumped off the ledge. When I told people I was leaving to go do what I'm doing, they said, what? What are you doing? You had this job. You were there for there. I'm like, what are you, nuts? I literally felt, now, it wasn't easy. I say this in one of my talks. I was like, I walked up to the edge of that ledge many, many times for about a year. And I looked over and would say, I can't do it. I'm too scared. I can't. And then finally one time I looked down there and I said to myself, well, you can do this. And not only you can do this, but I think you have to. And so I gave it the whole, Chevy Chase standing at the pool back at vacation when he's getting ready to jump in. This is crazy. This is crazy. And it was like, swan dive, man.
Trust the parachute, baby.
Absolutely.
Trust the parachute.
I was scared to death, though.
Gotta love it. Well, you've been listening to the Whole Pro podcast. You'll be able to find us on all social media platforms at the Whole Pro. You can send emails of feedback and the answer to our most important part of the program, the movie quotes, brought to you by Jim Vernon at thewholepro@gmail.com. No, the Whole Pro podcast at gmail.com.
Yep. No, just the Whole Pro on our Gmail.
Yep. The Whole Pro at gmail.com. What is our quote this week, JV?
Our quote this week is from an Academy Award-winning movie. I think it's an easy one again, but the quote I'm pulling is a little obscure from it. So we're going to find out who our movie nerds are this one. Name the movie this quote is from. I'm the guy who does his job. You must be the other guy.
So far, I'm 0 for 4, but
I'll give you a hint for people out there. Mark Wahlberg says that. And it's not in one of his, action-type movies. So there's your hint for today.
I love that. Well, thank you for being a part of the Whole Pro podcast. Click like and subscribe on all places. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Have a wonderful day.